Hey everybody, it's Jason with On the Play Games, coming to you from Charleston, South Carolina. We are bringing you a look at the new post 2025 Star Wars Unlimited Galactic Championship meta. There's been a huge shakeup. We all kind of suspected that Force Throw was going to be a big player, but we also were not quite ready for how big of an impact the new Kylo was going to be, or just how impactful Mother Towson was going to be. And wow, did the dark side show us that it is not all about control anymore. We also have some looks at some of the events that happened at the Galactic, and we're looking at some of the new things that new events that have posted some results, and we want to look at how that is making a play. Some of our old pals are still with us as far as our leaders and bases and strategies, and we'll look at all that kind of coolness here in just a minute. But first, I want to take a moment to talk about our Metal Fab friends and B-Flow, who gave us a really cool offer to be able to offer one of you a life puck. This is a $30 value, plus shipping, of course, and taxes and all that kind of good stuff. So it is really cool that they did that for us. I really just sent them an email and just asked, hey, do you mind if we just showcase the life puck? Because when I got my hands on one, I was just overwhelmed at all of the really cool features it has. You can see the timer here. It comes in a really nice hard case with a contoured, cushioned interior to protect the life puck itself. It has got a nice, bright background. You can see there's life settings, all these different little background settings. You can turn on the battery power so you can see how much power is left on the battery on the screen. You can set your timers. There's a split screen option for 2 players. You can see here this color wheel, so you have infinite colors that you can choose from for your backgrounds. And they have 2 different tutorials here on all of the really cool stuff you can do with this. Really interesting. A really interesting life counting device. I'm going to use it a lot, as On the Play Games is going to be shifting from its video content away from online digital play to more recorded live in-person paper content. And this is just going to make it so much easier for us to keep track of the base life or base damage without having to go into post editing. I just can't tell you how great it is. I bought 2, mainly because with 2 of them you can do twin suns, and that's going to be super cool. So just want to give a big shout out to Metal Fab and all the people over there. And make sure you check out some of the other Star Wars Unlimited items. I was kind of flipping through this to see some of the really cool things they had. And then I went over to page 2 and I came across this. And I don't know how I slept on this, but this was the Star Wars Unlimited event exclusive tokens. They had the Galactic Championship on them. Las Vegas on the backside. Yes, definitely want a pair of these just to remember how cool it was to be there. And wow, I wish I knew they had them with them. They may have sold out of them for all I know. But I definitely want to take a moment to show these off because it really is cool for anybody that was there. You may want to check them out, pick up a pair, and it would make a really good initiative token because you got the light side and dark side. It's kind of a nice little pairing there. And just one little extra thing I wanted to show at their website that you may want to check out. They got all kinds of cool things. And again, just check them out. Really cool. They make great products. And the KTOD guys have been talking about them forever. So you know they can't be bad. And you know they got to be good. So check it out. And that's where we're going to go with that. So with that said, let's take a look at what's going on with the new Star Wars Unlimited meta and how we're going to be changing gears to look at the way the Galactic Championships and set 5 has changed the direction of the competitive scene for Star Wars. Here you can see that we have the site up for the SWU Competitive Hub. I've pulled up some of the events. I want to start by showcasing the Galactic Championship Day 1. This is the one that everyone played in as like a last chance qualifier. Note, we had almost 2,000 players in this event. That's amazing for a last chance qualifier. So, in that, one of the decks I want to highlight is this Sabine Wren. And it's played by William Hannon. He's one of the co-owners, I guess I could say, or he and his father run the shop out of Myrtle Beach Games. William, I'm so glad you got to get into the main event. I know how much work you put in trying to get there through Planetary qualifiers and regionals and everything else, and got so close so many times. And to see you get there with a 6-0, just got right to the business with Sabine Wren. And Sabine has been his girl from the very beginning of the game. I think one time I've seen him step away from Sabine, and he did well even with that. I think it was Young Han Blue. It might have been Young Han Green, but I know it was Young Han. But I want to take a look at his list and kind of give you a look at some of the things that he did that were very unique and interesting. And the first thing I noticed down here is Yoda's lightsaber. And that threw me off at first. I'm like, why Yoda's lightsaber? He doesn't run force units. He's not trying to take advantage of Yoda's lightsabers gain life ability when played. So what's the deal? Well, the deal is that cost. The cost of 2. And one of the things that Thork's Hot Takes, he's one of the other content developers out of Europe, has stressed a lot about upgrades, is that upgrades that cost more than 2 are usually dangerous upgrades to really be using. A lot of players were playing the Darksaber, and it was a great card. It was usable on the flip turn with Sabine, but it cost 4. But it did give you 4 extra attack power. And if you hit twice with that, that meant the game was pretty much over. However, if your opponent was able to either take your Sabine out or take out that upgrade, you were set back so far that you probably lost the game. So it was like a win all or lose all kind of situation. Then there was a switch to General's Blade because it cost 3 and gave +3/+3. You could General's Blade and then also throw in a Rebel Assault in behind that and get tremendous value. But now we've got a +3/+1 and it only costs 2. So I think that William and the guys at McClunky Gaming kind of saw that advantage there of that 2 cost, and it really did him well. And he did not play against easy wins. Let's take a look at some of the decks he played on his path through the event. He took on a Han Solo worth the risk. Went 2-1. He went with Kylo Ren. This is the new with Tarkin Town. He went against another Sabine. Anakin Skywalker. Kira's made to beat Sabine. He was able to pull out a 2-1 there. Kylo Ren, not done yet. Tarkin Town. Well, let's take a look at this real quick. Yeah, there you go. He beat 2 decks that were in pretty much the same. Oh, did I just lose him? I did just lose him. Oh. Where did we go here? All right, there we go. He beat 2 Kylo Ren decks that were basically built or very similar to the deck lists that were in the top 8 of the championship itself. All right, so this Sabine list was very strong. Then we go on. Mother Towson, Mother Towson won the whole thing. All right. And when we take a look at this Mother Towson list was very, very similar to many of the Mother Towson lists that were played. There is a bit of an exception with the fact that it didn't play as many upgrades. And there is a little bit of a difference in that it played some Ruthless Raiders, but some of the Mother Towson lists that were in the top 8 did run Ruthless Raider. All right. But this one went a little bit light on the lightsabers and the upgrades. You usually saw about 6. Another 2, a split of 2 each, with the DL-44 blaster being one that I can think of off the top of my head, and the constructed lightsaber being the other. With that said, that shows you the power that Williams' list had throughout the entire run that he made in day 1 qualifying. He went 5-3 in this day 1 and did very well. He lost to, he lost to Han Solo worth the risk. He beat Mother Towson. He beat Kylo Ren. He lost to Kira, which again just made to beat Sabine. He won against Anakin. He won against he lost against Sabine, a mirror match. He beat Kylo Ren, and he beat Han Solo, worth the risk. So all in all, this list was really strong. All right, I'm interested in this Sabine list here. The Rebel Assaults. He did use the General's Blades. Confiscates in the main deck. 4 calls I believe in. He didn't use Heroic Sacrifices at all. One thing I will say that pressed Williams back against the wall with his list is that right here, these medal ceremonies, I spoke to him at the event. He accidentally loaded the wrong deck list. These medal ceremonies were not supposed to be here. I believe he said they were supposed to be wing leaders or something like that. The wing leader is supposed to be in the sideboard, then a different card in the main. So this deck was supposed to be a little bit different than what it is here in this iteration. But he still went 5-3 day 1, just barely missing out on day 2. All right. And I just got to say, well done, sir. Excellent job. And he definitely showed that Sabine can stay right up there with the Kylo Rens and the Mother Towsons by his victories over them in his path through the tournament. All right. Now, enough of that being said about one of our own OTPG family members. And let's take a look at the meta at large. All right. And the meta at large here, as you can see in this, it is Kylo Ren, Han Solo with the Force, Han Solo with the Force, Han Solo with the Force, and then these two down here not using the Force at all. All of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the top 8 were using Force throw. Okay? Could be a sign. Could be a sign that we have the potential of a Force throw banning in the future. It could be a sign that Force throw is not necessarily that bad when you have Sabine Wren in the mix and you have, things like that. It was pretty interesting to see things happen here. So, anyway, so on to day 2 and 3. So day 1 was like your qualifying day, and I don't understand something. I'm looking at this. I know he went 6-0 with this deck on day 1. I see what's happening. It's jumping into day 2. That's why it's 6-3 here. Okay. He went 6-0, by the way, in day one to qualify. William did. And then this is his day two. It's jumping right to day two. That's what's happening. All right. That makes sense now. But this is where he fell into the rankings for the day one Galactic Championship. This was the qualifier event to get into the day two, which was technically day one of the championships, where everyone who had gotten their bye from winning a Planetary Qualifier or sectors didn't have to do this to get in. And he went 6-0 and didn't have to worry about rounds 7 and 8. All right. But when you clicked on this information that you're seeing down here, this is information from his day two, which is in the actual Galactic event, and how he was pairing up against these force throw decks. And he was doing really well. So pretty proud of him there. Just a great showing again, and Sabine again showing that she's still very powerful. If anyone thinks that she's out of the meta, I'm sorry, but she is very much still a part of the meta. And one of the things that we can see there is that change of Yoda's lightsaber, that 2-drop, big deal. And I know one of my friends, Doug, is probably just smiling right now as he hears me talking about this, because about 3 weeks ago we were saying, oh, you don't want to play Yoda's lightsaber, it's not that good, and now I'm eating humble pie. So now let's take a look at the day 2 and 3. And day 2 and 3, our top 8 is right here. Force unit, Force deck, Mother Talzin using Force Throw, Kylo Ren using Force Throw, Quinlan Voss using Force Throw, another Kylo Ren using Force Throw, Han Solo using Force Throw, Han Solo using Force Throw, and then we have 2 decks that did not use Force Throw, and 1 Vader yellow making the top 8. This makes you take a moment to think. 6 out of the 8 top 8 decks using Force Throw. But let's take a look at this Han Solo. Never tell me the odds. When this card was first revealed, I felt like it was almost as broken as the original Boba Fett. That flip turn where you can get, like, if you did it right, you could bank like 10 resources worth of value out of that turn 4 flip with the 5 resources. And this deck was built to do just that. Lots of odd units, lots of cheap units. There are lots of Cassian Andor. Here's a 3-drop. You've got Boshak as a pilot. You can play as an even cost, but he counts as an odd. Just some really good stuff here. And lots of space units that have, 1-drop. So you can be like, turn 1, 1-drop, 1-drop. Put a Boshak on something for 2. Wallace was playing another 1-drop. Or put a Millennium Falcon out. Did he play the... No, he did not play the R2-D2 Woohoo. So there are lots of really great ways to get plenty of odd number units on the battlefield into your arenas, and then you flip over your Han Solo and you untap that many resources, and then you just play the rest of your hand out. A lot of people that talked about this leader with me were of the mindset that if you did that when you flipped the leader, you just wouldn't have any cards to play anymore because you'd already thrown all your cards out. And this particular list shows you that, hey, it's possible. This guy top 8'd with this deck. So, really, really showing that, Tarkin Town is a great answer to young Han. All right. They put out the big Oga Boga Where is he? I know he's in here somewhere. They're in there. Ooh, maybe this one didn't play it at all. There's no way. I guess they did step away from those in these top ones, which is interesting because um, that can't be. I must be looking at missing it or something here because that was one of the top plays, and Ezra plays off of that really well. Um, yeah, I guess so. Hmm. That surprises me. I guess they decided to take that out. But even with Ezra, take 2 points of damage, you just kill it right away with Tarkin Town, or kill Ezra him right away with Tarkin Town. Sorry, Ezra, didn't mean to call you girl. Um, but yeah, worth the risk. Definitely showing that he's worth the risk because very strong showing. You know, you got 2 in the top 8. That's very, very good. The Vader getting in there, even with all these bombing runs being out there, super strong. All right. So we are looking at a meta where you have Force Throw, Mother Taliesin, Kylo Ren, Han Solo are kind of like your cornerstones. All right. All around the centerpiece of Force Throw. While you also have the ability for Quinlan Voss that's still kind of around that Force Throw. And then you've got things like Han Solo, Darth Vader, and then if you expand this even more, you still see Anakin getting in there. Palpatine, by the way, Palpatine's making some waves. Cad Bane in the top 16, you had 2 Cad Banes. Iden still showing that control is a thing. The Boba Fett, we'll talk about that in a minute. Really good. You got 2 more Sabines in the top 25, so in the top 32, a couple of Sabines. Even Gar Saxon making it in the top 32. So still quite a wide variety of cards or leaders that are out there that don't necessarily need to have Force Throw in their list to do well. But as you get up into that top 8, Force Throw starts to kind of be the card. Okay? So let's take another look at some of our Gen Con. We had Gen Con Premier number 1. And as you can see, it was a 43-man tournament. So not as big as our Galactic Championship, but a sizable tournament. And our Premier 1, right there, bang, bang. 2 Force Throw leaders right off the bat. But where's number 2? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we're missing second place here. So very curious as to who second place was, or someone got disqualified, or what happened here. I'm going to have to text some friends that are working this, that work Gen Con, and kind of figure out what happened, or if this is just a typo in here somehow, and we just missed another one here. But take a look at what's in here. Lando Calrissian. My boy Matt's got to love that. He was one of the first players I saw play Lando effectively, and he was crushing it. Matter of fact, his Lando deck just could not lose to control because the amount of resources and ability to just play his resources as a second hand. Piet Red, always a great deck. And I love the fact that it's bringing in the 3 Devastators, giving that card its rightful place in the meta. And here's the interesting thing. This deck is much less about capital ships and much more about these droids. All right? These droids are coming in and they're popping upgrades, and then they're turning around and they're creating, dealing damage to bases. And these little droids are really cool. But you got Eighth Brother that was kind of interesting. It's like you may use the Force. Well, you only got a couple of Force units. You got Eighth Brother and Maul, and that's great. But that's all you have. So what is this deck really trying to do? So I was kind of looking around at like some of the different cards in the deck, and I came across, I think it was, nope, that's not it. There was was it Invasion? Yeah, here it is. Friendly droid units get Raid 2. As soon as I saw that, everything started to come together with me on what this deck was really doing. If you let those little droids stick around, or you let the Invisible Hand, which grabs a bunch of droids and draws them, and then you can play them for free, that starts to create a little bit of a swarm of droids, and then you give them all Raid 2, and now you got an army of droids all coming in, doing all this extra little damage, possibly killing off some units, doing more damage to your base, popping off non-unique upgrades, and was just kind of an interesting little mix between a little bit of a droid and separatist mix, and just a touch of the Force, which they did use just a 30-point base. So this there were no ways to gain the Force in this deck. So Eighth Brother was just an ambusher. Maul was just another ambusher. And I don't believe it's an Inquisitor. It's Imperial. It's Force. There's just no way to to gain the Force. So this all was about putting out big capital ships that also supported the droids that were being put on the ground, and then coming in behind with ways to give them raid. And if you did that, then you basically were able to just kind of overwhelm your opponent with this swarm of little droids that they really didn't care about. And I keep clicking here trying to find something that says you gain the Force, but there really isn't anything. But once you get to that point where you can drop a Devastator and a Planetary Bombardment start coming out, this gets really, really ugly quickly. And then Turbo Laser Salvo might as well be another version of Super Laser Blast, but just one-sided. And then you get your Overwhelming Barrage, and then Open Fire seems right instead of using Force Throw, because you only got four Force units in the deck. Bombing Run's probably in there just to kind of keep the opposing units or opposing Darth Vader yellow decks in check with their quick swarms. You want to slow them down as much as possible, because most of your early units with this deck are on the ground, while most of your beefier units in the air, most of your space units are beefy and a little bit later in the game. And there's not a lot of Sentinel in here either, so kind of keep that in mind. Black Star Sunfighter, I think, is a Sentinel. Yeah, that's basically it. So, with that said, this Piet Red, very excited to see that do really well. And that was pretty cool to see in the top 4 or 5, depending on what the situation is here, decks in the Gen Con Premier Event number 1. But that Lando Calrissian, pretty cool. But you also see Mother Taliesin, and 2 more Force decks up here. And that Kylo showing it is really good. Kylo is strong. And then also here, the Boba Fett. Again, Devastators, 3 of. This is a very strong deck. Again, using droids early in the game to get things kind of started with and put some early pressure. And I would not be surprised if we have... Nope, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see the ship that gives droids raid. But basically just using some droids on the ground that are cheap and effective to get out to kind of keep the ground in check, while also building a massive 26 units in the space arena. And then over here on our event sides, we got our daring raids and our open fires. Daring raid is really sweet. You just hit for one and then you tap your Boba Fett. It counts as non-combat damage, I believe is the way it's worded, if I'm not mistaken. If you do, yeah, non-combat damage. So just a great little way of, doing extra damage here with all of these. Salvage, excellent card to bring back any of these from the discard pile. And then you've got things like Craving Power, Crate Dragon if they dare to go along with you. Power Failure is to take all of those upgrades off of Kylo Ren. It's an okay idea, but it may not be the best idea if they're going to come straight in at you with like snapshot reflexes and that kind of stuff. So we'll look at another strategy that some of these sideboard cards right here in this Han Solo, I believe, is one. Yeah, right here. Aggrieved Parliamentarian. This is I never thought this card would have a place, or I was just wondering when it would come, I guess. But you play it, you choose an opponent, and they shuffle their discard pile, and then they put it on the bottom of their deck. And it's like, well, why would you do that? Well, up until now, we never really had a reason to do that. Now we have actually 2 leaders that really can fill up their discard pile, and Kylo has been the most effective one so far. So that's kind of where that is. Look at the Force Throw units, the Fell the Dragons, and now I've been seeing the more successful one of Han Solo decks running at least one Rival's Fall. It's great against the Kylo deck. You just Rival Fall him. He gets in maybe once. Hopefully you've got a Chariot down that can just absorb that first attack in. But they have ways also now with the Kylo decks to untap their Kylo and attack a second time in the same round. And we're going to take a look at that here in a second, because I believe in this Kylo, Mati right here. Mati is awesome. If he is out, when they go to put on, where is it? The Holocron. They put the Holocron on, they attack, they do 2 damage to Mati. The attack is already happening. All right. It is going to untap their leader with the Mati trigger, and then they can attack a second time. And that pretty much usually ends the game right there. So pretty cool little combination of using the Sith Holocron, and it costs 1, right? Yeah, it's stupid good. I mean, you get +3 out of this thing for 1. If you have Mati out, you get 6 points of damage in, just right there. So crazy amount of upgrades, almost a third of the deck. No, sorry. 40% of the deck is upgrades. So insane. Again, Force Lightning, Force Throw, Power of the Dark Side, and they even go with some pillages. Really lots of hand destruction between the Force Throw and the pillage. And then, several great units over here to just kind of control as much as possible the early game. Get a little bit of chip damage in if they can with some of these. Mig Mayfield being great. I mean, discard a card, do 2 points of damage to your base or hit your unit. Seems pretty good. And can really do some work against any of these lists that are running like the young Hans. That can make Migs Mayfield just really, really good. So, yeah, great list here. And does it have... Has a Rivals Fall on the sideboard. It's running Devastator, Regional Governor, Grenade Strike. I'm not sure what they call for Regional Governor. Maybe they call the Aggrieved Parliamentarian. Maybe where you just can't play it. That would be a pretty good sideboard for that action there. But again, lots of force throw. The next thing is Premier Event number 2. And again, Han Solo rising to the top. Matter of fact, Han Solo takes 3 out of the 4 top places. And then you see only 1 Mother Towson. No Kylos. I don't know if that's just because all the Kylo players packed up their stuff and went home. I doubt that's the case. But this event did have... how many people were in this? Number 2 had 46. So it was slightly larger than event 1. And young Han really, really showing how good it is. And okay, there we go. There he is. Ogdo Bogdo showing himself to be at least worthy. Like, check out Chewbacca down here making himself useful. Yeah. Crate Dragons still showing themselves as a 3 of. Kiadi-Mundi, the new one, the red-white, is so good. And then look over here. We are seeing that there are these 3 to 5 space units that are showing up in these lists that are doing better than some of the other lists. Instead of running like a bombing run as a 2 of, they'll throw in 5 space units and make room in here out of their ground units. The Rivals Fall is making a 1 of. Force Lightning's always going to make a 1 of just because it turns on the Anakin Skywalker. You got your Force Throws and your Fell the Dragons. They're always showing up in 3 ofs. Pretty standard set of events. And then the bombing runs in the sideboard. Chams, you just cannot say no to Cham. Confiscate's always great. Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's the old school Obi, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, he's great. I put him in my sideboard. And then Owen Lars. Owen's just more restore. And if they decide to kill him because they have to stop him from restoring your base, right? Then you just go grab whatever force unit you can find in the top 5 and put it in play. It's just great. So excellent list there, and Ogdo Bogdo made it. On this one here, did we get Ogdo Bogdo as well? We did not see Ogdo Bogdo, but Owen Lars was put in the main deck. So there's where your Ogdo Bogdos could have been. Electing to play Grogu, which is interesting. The Entrenched over here. And usually when you see Entrenched, you will not see any space units. So that's kind of where my list is. It's like 3 Entrenched, and then I've got, I think, 2 bombing runs in the main. And I don't use Shatterpoint. I don't like the card as much as many people do. I'd rather just have Fell the Dragon and Force Throw and just go with that. If I really need to, I'll just use Takedown and go from there. But your typical 3 Crate Dragons, your Luke Skywalkers, your Mace Windu's, your Kiadi-Mundis. They went with Kanan Jarrus, which is very interesting, which works with Ezra Bridger. So that's got a little bit of synergy there that some of these other Han decks stayed away from, but I like it. Yaddle's always good. The old Yoda Master, they went with 3 instead of 2, which is a lot of times what you see. And instead of going with 3 Grogu, they went with 2, which I don't blame them because they're not playing Ogdobogdo. But the ability to just throw that damage that the Han worth the risk puts on units onto something else of your opponent is really good, especially in a mirror match. But once you see these entrenched, you know those entrenched are going on space units. All right, so that's why you don't see any space units in this deck. Next, let's take a look at event number 3. And I think this is the last one that we have any results from at this point in time. And here are our Kylos. Kylos must have taken a lunch break and came back. We're going to take a look at some of these and look at some of the similarities and some of the differences. Again, pillages and force throws really putting pressure on the hand. We have Rivals Fall. I Am Your Father. Interesting. Grenade Strike's got to be there for the early kind of ways of controlling the jump to light speed Darth Vader yellow lists. But you got your Anakin Skywalker, your Lone Pikes, Miggs Mayfield, been in every single one of these. Ray. Okay, I could see where this works. You know, discard a upgrade, draw that, show it, bang, do 2 points of damage. Okay, I see where you're going with that. You're not going to play it. You're going to discard it later, probably. I don't think you play it as a unit, but very interesting. Witch in the Mist has been an interesting one. Just an early 1-drop you can put out, throw a force throw behind it, and then they can't kill it, and you get your force token when you attack. The Secretive Sage has turned out to be just an amazing card. And Lone Pike being able to give shield tokens. And it's just an all-around great unit. Karis, this is such a strong unit to be able to put out. It really is. But yeah, this one's pretty straightforward. And then this one's only got 17 upgrades. So not quite being able to get to that 40% mark. This is a little closer to like 36% of the deck list being upgrades. I like the DL44s. I like Fallen Lightsaber. You can't argue with. Obviously, the Sith Holocron I think is great, but if I'm going to play the Sith Holocron, I don't think I play Owen Lars and use that as my target. I probably just move the Owen Lars out and put Mati in and go for that untap. You know, why not? Perilous Position is not something you're going to put on your own Kylo Ren, so that really doesn't even count, but you can discard it to draw a card, so that works. Snapshot Reflexes. It's going to cost you 3, but you get to attack right away, so that's kind of cool. Battle Cry. This card has... I've had to take another look at it, and I thought it was bad. I did. I really did think it was bad. But in this particular deck, it only costs 2, gives you +3/+3, and so what if you discard a card? You know, and if you have no hand, who cares at all? Yeah. And the fact that you just pay 2 to put +3/+3, if I'm not mistaken, it is not a unique. So I could see that being a straight 3 of Battle Fury. My bad. I don't know why I called it Battle Cry. But yeah, that could be an easy 2 or 3 of for this list. Not a problem at all. Matter of fact, I'd probably rather have that over the Fallen Lightsaber, maybe splitting 2 and 2. Fallen Lightsaber does have that great do 1 point of damage to all the enemy units, but really you just want to run past the enemy units, go straight to the base and end the game. But other than that, this Kylo deck is very, very powerful. And this was the... Was this a second place one? Where does it have it? First place. No, August 1st. This was Crispy's. Crispy. Let's look at the second place one here. All right, second place. We've got Force Choke and Force Throw only. So not going after the hand quite as much. Not doing the open fires. But a full 40% of the deck is set up to be upgrades. Got the Jedi Lightsaber. Fallen Lightsaber at 2. Entrenched Snapshot Reflexes. Sith Holocrons at 3 of. Ruthlessness. That seems disgusting. 2 for 1 you get +2. And if you decide to attack one of their units, you just... Yeah, that's crazy. Infiltrator Skill, the Saboteur. Yes, absolutely. And then the DL-44 Blaster, definitely good. Again, just another 1 drop that gives you +2. This one seems to have all the right parts to have won this, except maybe in here. All right. Secret of Sage, the Ray, the Reckless Gunslinger might have been where they made their mistake. That might have been the slot, and the Director Krennics might have been the slots where, probably Admiral Monty would be better. Just saying. If I, would look at these 2 lists, that's where I think, could have been a little bit better. But other than that, I wasn't playing them. So, and then look, hey, Lando Calrissian again, getting there. And here we see Boba Fett, Mother Towson. Then we see Kazuda. So glad to see Kazuda. Kazuda's so fun to watch played when someone who knows what they're doing with it is playing it, and it can be so scary to play against. One of our local players in the Charleston area plays Kazuda almost religiously for at least a while there, and every time I would sit down across from it, even if I won, I felt like I was just on pins and needles the entire time. I was scared to death. You got, finally, here we go, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Been waiting to see one of these that did well, and they did stay away from the Yoda's lightsaber and went with the General's blade. That's the right call. That's the right call for this deck. The Yoda's lightsaber might have been the right call for the Sabine list that William played, just because of the efficiency that it has, resource efficiency that it has. But the General's blade in this particular setup, with the number of Jedi that are in it, it is absolutely insane. Matter of fact, they even went down to 1 Jedi Counselor. 1 Kelleran. 1 Luke Skywalker. 1 Yoda. Not even the big Yoda. Yeah, this is a really interesting list here. It's kind of low to the ground. It's got almost there's Anakin taking care of business. Such a beautiful version of that card. Yeah, I like the Maz Kanata in here kind of getting at it. This really, really strong. And the blue leaders and the home ones, very, very interesting list. And Fell the Dragons, takedowns, confiscate, Shatterpoint, still don't love it, but hey, whatever. And the Force is with me, such a great card. That's kind of your wrap up there. And all in all, that gives us a look at our meta, which is really, it's really 4 decks that are, or it's really a pillar of 3 decks that we're looking at, right? Or 3. 3 decks altogether. We got our Kylo, we got our Mother Taliesin, and we got our Han Solo. That are our pillars, all surrounded by the Force Throw, and it's just extremely powerful positioning right now in the new meta. All right, and this is where we're at right now. You need to be prepared to deal with Kylo. You have to be ready for Kylo. You need to be prepared for Han Solo, worth the risk. And you need to be prepared for Mother Taliesin, because she just has the ability to shrink all your units down and really, just make everything so hard to deal with, that she will make you pay for not being ready for her. And I'm sorry that I'm showing this little slide here inside the the actual slideshow itself, but at this point in the video, and the fact that it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I just wanted to show you real quick. This is the cornerstones, in my belief, for next weekend that we want to be ready for. In addition to some of those other videos that are going to be other leaders that are kind of on the fringes that still have that power level to make it happen and surprise you. Remember, Sabine's still there, Boba Fett's still there, Piet Red is still there, Quinlan Voss is still there. They all can still make it happen. I do think we have a rather diverse meta, and yes, we might see a banning of Force Throw, but I don't think it is as absolutely busted as far as making any one type of deck I don't know. I might take that back. I mean, when 6 out of the top 8 decks are playing through a play set of Force Throw, that's a sign. But at least you see other decks that are in there and doing well and mixing it up. But all the top decks in the top 4 are pretty much Force Throw decks. And so we're probably going to be seeing some type of action in the next few weeks, as we move through the Planetary Qualifiers by FFG on Force Throw. I would not be surprised. And then that is going to switch up some of the meta. I don't think it's going to change what are the best decks. It might actually make decks like Sabine a little better because they just didn't have Force Throw. They didn't care about Force Throw. While it may hurt the overall power level of the 3 decks you see here, but maybe Kylo being the one that gets hurt the most because they would play Pillage to try to really push that hand and discarded and manipulation of their opponent's hands. But the decks that do not use Force Throw Those decks are going to rise up just a little bit, and then these will maybe come down in their power level just a little bit, and the meta will be a little more evened out, but I think we're going to be pretty much the same as far as top leaders and top color combinations and our aspects. And we're going to be looking at a really nice, really smooth Season 2 as we play through Set 5's impact in the Star Wars Unlimited meta. And I really look forward to next weekend when we all get a chance to see what we can do at the first Planetary Qualifier that we participate in, or at least that I participate in. So with that said, I'm going to end this ramble. It has been a very long video. I hope you got to get to the end. But do make sure that you check out the video from our last video, which is probably popping up right about now. And if you want to be in that drawing, you must put the comment Life Puck in the comment section. Please like and subscribe too, but that's not necessary. I'm not trying to beg you for your for your likes and subscribes. The comment is enough. I wasn't comment fishing before, but now it looks like because of the way the analytics go, I can't see who liked the video and then compare it to my subscribers and then pluck those people out. So I do need anyone who wants to be in that drawing that's going to be done on the 14th to please put Life Puck in the comment section. And once again, whether it's day or night, may the force be with you.